Engage.
Hey, it's the Feed the Kitty Kast. That doesn't roll off the tongue quite yet, but we're getting used to it.
It's gotta.
And Jed, who is our special guest today with the locks of love?
No, I'm probably gonna say your last name wrong. Stephen Belkowski.
Belkowski.
Belkowski. I was close.
What is
close.
that? What is that?
Polish.
Ah.
It's more specifically, it's long, but
Well, I'm in Woodland Hills, Jackson, Costa Mesa. Where are you residing?
I am in Chinatown.
Vagina-town?
Yeah. Right around the corner. Yeah, right on the cusp between that and Echo Park.
All right, hey, that's cool. Jack was in Koreatown for his start in LA.
Yep.
Okay, I said Chinatown. That's racist, Jed. Come on.
Yeah.
Xenophobic potato tomato.
Well, Jack, I was lucky enough to meet Steven at Zen Healing, which is a marijuana dispensary in West Hollywood, where one of my best friends owns. He is even a sponsor of this show. I think we should play the commercial at some point, even if it's outdated.
Okay.
And he's a bud tender there. He moved here from Virginia to be a comedian, or he's always been a comedian, but to give it a shot, he came to the right place. And it was cool right off the bat. He said he's from Newport News, Virginia. I was born in Charlottesville and then grew up in Great Falls, Virginia. And I haven't been back there since, I was 8 years old. So he's been filling me in on all kinds of things there, which is awesome. I love that.
From Newport News, Virginia.
Yeah.
Did they name that city in a ad in the paper, or like?
I know, seriously.
It was originally, I think, like Newport News or something like that. And then, I don't know, I guess they adapted it. But actually, it got started because, I think his name was Colin P. Huntington or something like that. He was like owed a bunch of railroads and basically wanted to build a shipyard to build yachts for him and his mistresses. And then, that city came about because of that.
Thank you, Colin P. Huntington.
Colin P. Huntington.
Wherever you may be or not.
All your hoes, we salute you.
Absolutely.
I was looking it up on Wikipedia. It seems like a kind of a trippy little spot. I'm sure it's a lot different from West Hollywood and Chinatown in Los Angeles.
Yeah, I mean, the weather's different, I guess. But, I don't know. When I first got off the plane when I was here and I was like taking the train into downtown LA, I remember seeing all the neighborhoods. So I was just like, yeah, I mean, the trees look different, but other than that, it's kind of pretty similar to home.
It's a house with a roof and a 7-Eleven on a corner. It's America.
Exactly. Yeah.
America.
Well, I found out that he went to a college called Hampton-Sydney that my dad attended, which is just crazy. I'd never met anybody that's ever been there before.
Yep.
I'm proud of you.
And Jack, I said, one of the first things I asked him, I go, hey, who's the most famous person you've seen in here at Zen Healing? And he goes, probably me.
Oh, really?
And I just thought it was hilarious. I'm like, all right, I'm going to be friends with this dude forever.
Probably I'm one of the most renowned and well-respected names that I know. At least, among myself.
Well, in LA, it's all about who you know. So.
See, exactly.
Yep, you're one step ahead of the game.
Well,
Bada bing, bada boom.
that's not an easy job to get there in West Hollywood, and he is extremely knowledgeable about the products. I'll tell you.
I don't mean to brag. I like getting high.
What are some of your favorite strands coming out of there? I mean, that XJ13 is top-notch sativa.
Yeah, I literally have some right here.
Dude, the packaging is so nice on these products. Sometimes I wonder how they make money.
This is a fucking gram container.
Yeah.
Dude, but okay, that's my thing about it though, is it's just like, that's one of the pitfalls of legalization. You're going from this is the new standard versus you used to be able to fit this much grass in a fucking plastic. There's this much plastic in the lid itself.
Well, they have to. They really have to regulate everything now. So it's better if you put it in a sealed container that you can ship and market, and so You know?
For sure. That's my thing about the marketing is really it gives you peace of mind. I like to be able to know that if I get sick from smoking this, there's somebody that I'm going to be able to sue, and that I'm going to have the most comfortable wheelchair to live the rest of my life out in while I'm paralyzed from the neck down for vaping lead.
Well, you know, they can grow all kinds of different strands now. Have you considered a Feed the Kitty strand?
Oh man, that would be if I was growing my own. I mean for sure.
Well, come on, man.
Well, I would love to be naming all the different ones. When I used to live in Virginia and I would sell eighths and shit out of my apartment, I would whenever a strain didn't have a name because people always wanted to know what it was called, I would just be like, yeah, this one's Sour Steve. I'd be like, that's crazy. You got Sour Steve and your name's Steve? I'm like, yeah, it's wild, right?
Yeah. Well, that's brilliant.
You know, it's amazing that the industry went from illegal to essential in 2 years.
Yeah.
And Steven's an essential worker down there.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for your service.
Went from criminals to now I'm like a doctor or an astronaut, you know?
You might be as high as one.
Oh man, probably a little higher for being honest.
And I do mean a doctor. Thank you. So do you do any stand-up around town, like open mics? Are you crashing stages? Like, what's going on with you?
Yeah, I mean, typically I would be, well, honestly, I haven't been getting up as much as I should have been in the past year or so. But obviously with COVID, that's put a little bit of a wrench in everything. But honestly, I guess it's more of like a convenient excuse for me, you know? Now that I'm not getting up, I'm like, oh, it's because of COVID rather than just me being a lazy fuck. But
how often are you writing material? I mean, you know, Jack got up and did stand-up 2 different times. And Jack and I love comedy. We talk about it all the time. We do a lot of comedy at our shows. And we realized how hard it is and what a craft it is. And we said, we would have to work on this every single day, just like we do our music.
Well,
do you feel the same way?
Whenever I think of anything funny, you typically just freeze whatever I'm doing, pull out my phone and write down at least an idea that's going to get me back to it. And the more often that you do that, you know, it's almost like working out. The more often that you do it, the easier it comes. And you just start seeing the funny side of everything that's happening in your day and whatnot. But you know, then again, it's one of those things where if you don't work it out after a while, you know, lately I've just been getting down 1 or 2 ideas every few days versus 7 a day kind of thing. But
you know, for me, when I did the stand-up, I really enjoyed it, and I worked hard. I was writing bits. I was, you know, jotting things down, coming up with routines, trying to memorize the act, and I did pretty good. I mean, I feel like I didn't bomb either time, and but I realized this is a craft. I mean, I already knew that, but I respect stand-up so much that I don't want to be just some guy going up, hey, look at me, I'm a stand-up comic. It's like some guy grabbing a guitar and going, hey, look at me, I know 3 chords, I'm a guitar player.
Yeah, but typically, and a lot of people feel that way. They're like, you know, I don't deserve to be going up there. But the people that are walking up on stage that are just like, oh, I have something good to say and I have something that they need to hear. Those are typically the people that you don't want to fucking hear, you know? Oh, that's awesome. You had a really successful career in acting and now you get to just headline this show that, you know, I've been busting my ass for 5 years to get on kind of thing.
It's the equivalent of somebody coming up to us and grabbing our mic and going, happy birthday, Steve.
It would be you guys are playing the show and then George Clooney walks in and it's like, hey guys, I've sang in a few movies, I'm just gonna take over right now.
Well, I would let George Clooney take over.
And for sure you absolutely fucking would, and you're gonna kneel down to the fucking guy who, I don't know, was Robin Williams' daughter in whatever movie. This is Downfire, but
I would let the worst Batman jam with us.
fuck yeah, for sure. Because there's gonna be a fucking worse Batman posse,
No.
it's coming through selling tickets.
Exactly.
Well,
when in our act we do a lot of comedy, just off the cuff, improv type stuff, riffing and roasting people and stuff like that. So I'm able to get my comedy Jones from that angle and play a little music as well.
It's weird. I think a lot of musicians would love to be comedians. A lot of comedians would love to be musicians. I think you're a drummer.
I was gonna say, one of my friends, Jess, she's a comic and she like dates a musician. She literally says that exact thing. Like all musicians, secretly want to be comics, but they're like, I'm better than the music, and the vice versa. All comics want to be rock stars, and they're like, just better at the fucking making jokes.
As hard as music is, comedy is 10 times harder to break into.
It is.
Again, but that's because you're not doing it, It's kind of like one of those things where after, like when you said you first went up and you felt like you were pretty good, I always tell people the funniest person that they know is themselves, because nobody's in your head as much as you are. Nobody knows how your mind works and what's going to make you laugh as much as you do. It's just like where good comedy comes in is it's just repetition. And again, writing down all those things that make you laugh and then going back into them later in the day in a clear head, in a neutral point of view, looking back at that idea and saying, why was that funny? How do I make other people see why that was funny? And then you like write out, almost like writing out the song, or like the melody, where's this gonna go? Where's the direction that this flows in, where I can land that idea basically, or make it a sane idea to everyone else.
Yeah, dudes like George Carlin and even Joan Rivers.
George Carlin sucks.
Well, I mean, I'm just saying.
I'm just kidding.
Whether you like him or not, the guy's work ethic is what got him where he was, because he would write constantly, and Joan Rivers too. And she actually had a whole library card catalog full of one-line jokes and punchlines and stuff that she was able to, I don't know, use the Dewey Decimal System or whatever and find these things. And that's kind of what it takes. Even our buddy Dan O'Carter, every time I see him, he's got a pad of paper and a pencil, and he's just writing stuff down, writing out routines, writing out ideas. And I don't have time for shit like that.
Well, Jack, we improv a lot of our stuff, and we kind of have our go-tos where we know people are going to laugh, and then we try new things all the time. Steven and I almost have a little banter going in the shop where when people come in and we've picked up that little thing, which is so fun. I mean, it just makes it so much better. And then they leave and we get to talk about it.
It's almost, and it's like, I don't know if it'll be like more, if it'll be easier for you guys to grasp because you're musicians, or if that'll make it more difficult. But it's almost like people talk about it in like beat form, especially like improv artists will talk about like there's beats to the joke, and then the more that you get to know somebody, and then sometimes when you don't know somebody and then you meet and you guys already have like similar like beats or rhythms, that's when it's just like really cool and like almost like magic happens. But like doing improv shit as a band, I always say like in the moment is when the best comedy happens. And when you're doing improv, that's when the in the moment jokes are gonna happen the most often. And then that energy combined with the music, it's I don't know, beautiful combination.
What's interesting too is that with the difference between music and comedy is comedy, you've got to come up with fresh shit, material constantly, right? When you're a musician, Jack, if we ever have a hit song, they're going to want to hear that song every time. It's such an interesting thing. We're always still going to try to come up with new material, but like once you got those hits, they want to hear that, and then and as a listener to comedy, I can't listen to this stuff. I can't listen to it over and over. It's kind of a one-time thing for me.
I've come around. I think maybe my all-time favorite guy is Don Rickles.
Oh, I love him
because he was always in the moment. He would say punchlines that made no sense sometimes because he was just off the top of his head coming up with stuff. He was so quick, so fast, and there's a vast amount of Don Rickles stuff on YouTube, and I could actually rewatch all that stuff many times over because it's just so fresh still, even to this day.
Man, I didn't really know. I knew of him. I didn't really know how funny he was until a few years ago when Jack told me, and I went down the rabbit hole on YouTube, Steven, if you haven't done it, do it, because he's one of the best. He really is.
No,
And you two remind me of each other, because about when I ask Steven a question, about 90% of the time you're not going to get a straight answer. And same with Jack. And I love that. I really do.
Yeah, that's how it keeps people on their feet. They have no idea whether you're being
the easy answer, you know?
Yeah.
And hey, what's some of the music that you've been showing me in there? We were some of those jam bands, the young jam bands.
So Papadozio was probably
I love them.
I don't know how young. I wouldn't say those guys are old, but
I come from the Fish, Grateful Dead.
Yeah, you're thinking Grateful Dead and all those.
And then I am forgetting their name, but I've been transitioned with a few other bands. And name some of these other ones.
Oh, all right. Dopapod. I showed you Bass Nectar. That's a DJ, though. Music
that
producer.
Was cool,
outside of that, I feel like those are probably two of the main ones. I don't know if we did any. Twiddles come on a little bit, but
Twiddle.
Huh?
Twiddle.
Twiddle. Have you ever heard of Twiddle?
No, sir. I'm old.
They're okay. They have a few good songs that I do like, but the one that always comes on, I can't even think of the name of it right now, but the one that always comes on in the shop, I fucking hate, and I go switch it every time. Go past. But they're a good band. I don't want to talk shit about them. I think we listened to some Humphreys.
Oh, that was the band that I saw at the Key Club years ago, and I was just absolutely blown away. Do you consider yourself a hippie?
Or a yippie?
Oh, I don't think so. I consider myself probably like a psychedelic enthusiast, I would say, with long hair, but I guess I would need to read the dictionary definition of a
I meant to do
before.
That. I don't know if Jack can look it up or not, but I did mean.
Here, I'll just ask Siri. Hang on. Define hippie.
This could get really ugly. Asking Siri
No,
get an Urban Dictionary definition.
Right.
Here we go.
As a noun, it means, especially in the 1960s, a person of unconventional appearance, typically having long hair, associated with a subculture involving a rejection of conventional values and the taking of hallucinogenic drugs.
Yeah, you're a fucking hippie.
I would say no then.
Oh, okay.
Based on that definition, I would say no.
Oh, dude, that's hilarious.
He's a hippie for war.
Well,
right?
Okay,
yeah.
I'm pro-war. I am pro. No.
No.
That one's gonna get played back.
Here's an interesting question. I don't know if this is another rabbit hole or whatever, but Tori was saying you can't be a hippie because that was those people back then. It's
in
like
the 1960s.
Yeah, it's like you can't be a beatnik.
I feel like then it was counterculture versus now it's almost like there's almost a shift.
Yeah.
You know, I've like been trying to tell people we're in the middle of like the new psychedelic revolution, to the point where like on the DEA website they used to follow the trace of LSD through the country by following the touring schedule of the Grateful Dead, right? Nowadays you can't trace the flow of LSD through the country. You know, it's just fucking everywhere because there's so many fucking jam bands and they're all playing in different places at the same time. But I mean, I guess you could say Denver, and that would definitely take out a chunk of it. There's Portland, San Francisco.
Well, this pandemic has turned me not into a hippie, but more of a lumberjack. If you can see, I've been doing the beard and the.
I just shaved mine actually
today
because I couldn't decide. I was like, should I go clean shaven or should I leave it? So then I got to the mustache. Again, earlier I was feeling a little tipsier. I drank 2 beers.
You look good. You kind of look like Kurt. You kind of look like Kirk Hammett a little bit.
Well, I saw it there and I was just thinking, it's like the Blake from Workaholics look is kind of. This was what I did for Halloween.
I'm digging it. If I wasn't married, you know.
Steven, if you had give up every substance except one, and this is including alcohol, which one would it be for forever?
Oh, the only one that I would keep?
Yeah.
Marijuana.
Okay.
See?
Just
See, Nancy Reagan?
and
yeah,
what was it?
Put that in your pipe and smoke.
He's like, who's Nancy Reagan? No, go ahead.
Nancy who?
What was it like to do stand up on acid?
Which
What?
time? Sometimes good, sometimes bad.
I
sometimes
bet, dude.
both.
That's a bold move.
How would you know?
I've never gone there.
How would you know whether it was good or bad?
Oh man, because I record them.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
I lost a couple of them. Oh man, last February, I dropped my phone and I didn't have any of my audio recordings backed up. And 5 years of stand-up audio recordings was just. But I was like, well,
Ouch.
now, you know, if I ever make something of myself, when they go back and look at it, they'll be like, man, this dude is pretty good right from the jump.
Yeah, he came out of nowhere.
He's clean jokes. Solid 15 minutes. No.
Well, that's not as impressive as throwing a no-hitter on acid, but okay, I'll give you that.
Yeah, you know, but I mean, you haven't heard the set yet.
No, that's true. Well, can we find any of your stuff online anywhere and check you out?
Well, if you Google my name, the only thing that's gonna pop up, you'll like see like my social media,
And then a map of Poland.
yeah, a little
Yeah,
bit.
right.
No. But there's like 4 different links to the Rojan Kast. Virginia is for Druggies with Stephen Belkowski, which is actually how my parents found out that I do drugs. That was a podcast I recorded right after my birthday last year. And,
I listened to it. It was great.
Yeah, my parents they called me. That guy asked me today to do another one, so
Hey.
that'll be coming out, I guess,
Well,
soon after your guys.
Call your LSD dealer.
Right.
Yeah.
Outside of that, no, I don't really post much stuff online. I'm thinking about like starting a podcast with one of my roommates where like our whole thing is we're just not going to talk about the epidemic, the pandemic, and then we're just going to spend every episode not talking about the pandemic and talking about how much we're not talking about the pandemic.
Well, we're wearing our masks down there and
Yeah.
doing what we're supposed to do, and it's not easy to have that on for multiple hours at a time. And I went to the grocery store today and I had the news radio on for some stupid reason, and this doctor came on and said it's worse to be wearing masks. And it's just like, why would you contradict other doctors?
Well, because he's probably got a book to sell for one.
Yeah, you're damn right. Well, it's popular. When you say something like that, people are going to be like, wait, what? Why? And even if you're spouting bullshit, you've got their attention.
It also
I know.
It also depends on the study that they're doing. So they could say, yeah, it helps prevent the spread of virus, but it builds up bacteria.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a cause and effect. So, and the other, it's like coffee. It's good for you. It's bad for you. It's like eggs. It's good for you. It's bad for you. Because it is. It's good for you and bad for you. So, you know, wear the goddamn
Like
mask.
cocaine.
Good, or Coca-Cola, good for you,
Yeah.
bad for you.
Right. Good for you or not, no, it's not good, actually. It's not
Steven,
good.
you've been on stage at the Comedy Store, right?
Yeah. The Kill Tony podcast a couple times.
That's pretty
And
cool.
then I did a bringer show, but the Kill Tony podcast was probably more significant. It's if you guys don't know about it, basically, they have some. That's actually I met Jim Gaffigan and Nick Swartzen that way.
They listen
have
to
like,
you.
Yeah, well, they have like a panel and they have like larger comics come on, and then you go up and do like they pull a name from a bucket. A bunch of people sign up. If you're lucky enough to get pulled, you get to do a minute of stand up, and then they interview you afterwards. So got on a few of those. That was pretty cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
Is Jim a nice guy, Jim Gaffigan?
Yeah, dude, super nice. Him and Nick Swartzen, both of them were like super cool, super awesome to like, you know, interview. Neither of them were huge dicks to me on stage, which, you know, it's super
Yeah.
easy to do when a
Totally.
guy is just walking up being a, you know, dumb stoner and whatnot. So Fun
Awesome.
shit.
Hey, and what were you saying about the 4 gigs not to take?
The 4
Remember-
gigs now. Oh yeah. Well, they tell you like when you start out, it's like you're not supposed to do any gigs for kids. Don't do any gigs outside. Don't do any gigs during the day. And then one thing that I add to that is don't perform after musicians.
Yeah.
Because musicians will just suck the fucking energy out of the room.
Right.
And like just to compete, your voice to compete with overdrive and a whammy bar and a fucking amplified vibrate, you can't do it.
Or even worse, they get up there with an acoustic guitar and they start singing that's COVID-19 is here.
Yeah, well, that kind of
life will never be the same again. All right, and here's Steven with some stand-up. Yeah, thanks a lot.
One of my first shows I ever did was a variety show, and there was a girl who went up right before me. She was doing poetry, and her huge thing right before it, she's like, I've never opened up to anybody about this stuff before.
Oh no.
And she starts talking about how she had like wanted to kill herself and all this stuff, and like how she had attempted like cutting her wrists and all this stuff and whatnot. And everybody, she's crying on stage, her parents are crying, they came out to see her. It's the first time they've ever seen her read poetry. And like after, it's just super emotional, and then like, all right guys, now next coming up is Steven. And then I go up and my opening joke is like, I just point somebody out who looks like they don't smoke weed. I'm just like, sir, when's the last time you smoked weed? This guy goes, 1993. I was like, 1993? I started smoking less weed today. I already want to kill myself. Silence.
How did that go over?
I saved it. But like,
The parents loved it. Yeah.
in that moment, like as soon as I said it, I was like, look, I get it, guys, but like I've been planning this set out all week. I'm not gonna like, I didn't know her set. We didn't rehearse this as a group. I learned the line
We're
5 minutes ago.
We're like, Jack, let's not open with I'm not scared of dying. We'll move forward.
Yeah, right.
Stick to our set list.
I'm not scared of dying.
Well, we're running up on the end of the meeting here. So, any other final thoughts, feelings, insecurities?
Yeah, I have a couple of questions for you guys.
Go ahead.
That I just wanted to pull out. You know, I noticed that was a thing on a few of the episodes that I saw. So, all right. First off, Jack, what is the most uncomfortable thing that you experienced or witnessed as a child that you would rather not talk about on the podcast? or Jet. This is an open question.
Oh,
Either
God.
one of you guys, whoever wants to start.
It's hard to choose. I have so many. Let me think here.
No. If we want to start off, we can go with what is your guys' favorite color?
Oh my God. Puce.
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 What's your favorite color? Puce?
Puce. Puce.
Yeah, that's a good fucking color.
Thank you. I got a million of them. How about this? Red, yellow, green, orange, brown, black, ochre, peach, ruby, olive, violet, fawn, lilac, gold, chocolate, mauve, cream, crimson, silver, rose, ashen, lemon, russet, gray, orange, and blue.
Did you look that up just
No,
now?
I did not.
You got me red, green, yellow, and I'm
He probably
Blue.
said that in the theater play.
Yes, sir. Jed knows me so well.
son of a... That's how it goes.
That's how it goes.
That's smart.
All right, next question. This
All
is
right,
fun.
what are your guys' favorite parts of quarantine?
You know, for me, writing new songs and just enjoying a little relaxation. That's been my
Right
favorite
after
part.
Right after I chugged those 2 beers, I sent Lost and Found to my ex-girlfriend.
That's awesome. I love that. And you know what?
Via email. We're not talking right now.
And to be honest, hanging out with Steven at the shop has been some of my favorite moments. Dude, we've had so much fun, dude. Jack, what's your favorite moments?
I think my favorite thing about the quarantine is my house, because I bought it less than a year before the outbreak, and if I was living at my old place, I would be taking a hostage and ending up on the evening news. It would have been bad situation.
Hey, not to cut you off too, but like, dude, we've been super busy these last 2 years. And Jack, I swear, like, when I have a day or two off, you know, and I can squeeze them in, you don't, dude. You've been going nonstop for like 10, 15 years. So
you know what's crazy?
This time with your wife.
I've been busier than ever during this time, because
it's a different busy.
Yeah, we're trying to figure out, you know, how to like generate a little income, keep our sanity, keep our chops up.
You got to find a purpose in quarantine, Steven.
Yeah, Steven.
It's true. You guys are doing a great job, though, with the podcast.
Thank you. Dude, I appreciate that. He's been here and Feed the Kitty down there. We've been playing it, and he's been enjoying it. I think tell me the truth.
But he is on acid, so.
Half the time.
All right.
What you call? A lot of people come in and be like, "What are you on right now, dude?" And I'm like, "I'm what you would call perma-fried." Like, I haven't actually been high in years. I am this way now.
You got any other questions there?
If you guys could have a conversation with anyone ever, doesn't matter who or why, who would it be?
Ever?
Well, it does matter who.
I would say Madame Curie.
Madame Curie. Who's Madame Curie?
She discovered uranium and plutonium, and she died because she was poisoned by her own experiments. Anyway,
she was doing drugs.
She was a brilliant lady. I'd love to corner her.
Look her name up right now.
Go ahead. Jed, you, and then we're gonna have to sign off here soon.
Gosh, man, I don't know. You know, I would say someone like Bob Marley, but when I see interviews, he was kind of tough to talk to.
He was on that Steven strand.
You know,
that's Sour Steve.
Yeah, Sour Steve. Yeah.
Well, one final question: who would it be for you, Steven?
Oh, it would be me on my deathbed. Yeah.
Whoa!
I didn't know you could.
Right?
I didn't know you could go all existential on it.
I said, hey, it doesn't matter.
We can't top that, Jack.
Nope.
I think that's it.
I think with that,
he won up us at the end there.
I thought of that one honestly like 15 minutes before the start. I was like, oh, that's fucking good.
well, you son of a.
I set you up.
Yeah, you did set me up. But...
Well, Steven, thanks for joining us. Anywhere people can look you up.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
Do you have like an Instagram or anything people can check out? Or
Belkowski on Instagram, and then Belkowski on Twitter. So BELSWAGSKI for Instagram, and honestly, then I'll just post pictures of my tweets, so you can find my Twitter that way.
You are Polish, aren't you?
Yeah, I'm Polish.
And nice. don't ask him to go Instagram Live, whatever you do. So
I've just never done it before. Jed asked me to go Instagram Live with them for my first time ever. Like, it's gonna notify everybody in my
dude, all my friends are gonna get a notification that
we at least gotta have prepared like some
I will
stuff
never
where somebody's
ask that
hiding
again.
their dick and they just run across it, and you got a sock around it, Red Hot Chili Pepper style or some shit.
Well, you want to show up for something like that. Prepare.
You gotta be prepared. At least
I was
let me get a half
wanted to
time.
test it out. It was like, okay, these millennials.
What are you gonna do?
Jeez.
Awesome.
All right, Steven.
Right on.
These kids. All right,
Thank
guys.
you, man.
Appreciate you having me on. Okay.
All right. We'll see you later.
Boy, peace.
Right on.